What's your best customer isn't always right story? I used to work at McDonald's. A woman came in and ordered a Big Mac, fries, and a drink. So I put her order in as a Big Mac combo since it is cheaper than getting those 3 things separately. She then proceeded to scream at me claiming that I am ripping her off and charging her for something she didn't even order. My manager then proceeded to simply charge her for those 3 things separately and she ended up paying more. It was Black Friday, we sold out of a certain product. The woman told me to remove every ad because I'm not allowed to advertise something I don't have. That's not how this works. I also had a customer try to park his truck in my store. Yes. You read that right. He said he is allowed to park there because it doesn't explicitly say no parking. Well sir, your as doesn't explicitly say don't duck me. So how about you bend over? Worked at a popular cafe so we got stupid shit all the time. My 2 favorite though. Once had a man flag me down and start shouting about this weird worm in his pie. I took a quick look at the pie and noticed it was actually a piece of onion. After a couple of minutes of calming the man down, I asked him what sort of pie he ordered. He'd ordered beef and onion. He had me ducking swap his half-eaten beef and onion pie for another beef and onion pie because of it. Another time I was delivering a large tray of food to a table. Everything going fine. Just a couple sandwiches etc. As I'm about to walk away, the older guy at the table grabs my attention. The conversation went like this. Guy, is this cheese sandwich dairy free? Me, as far as I'm aware we don't do dairy free cheese, so no. Guy, no, I mean does it have any milk products in? Me, yes, it's got cheese and butter in. Guy, well can you bring me it back without the dairy products? Me, you want your cheese sandwich without any dairy products? Him, yes. I promptly returned it to my manager. Let her know the situation and said good luck figuring that one out. Edit, wow, so many upvotes. Thanks guys. I dealt with a lot of dumb shit as a camp director, but one that always sticks out in mind. After the week is over, a mother comes roaring up to me and has mare dare in her eye. Having I introduced myself to the families less than an hour before she knew I was an authority figure in the camp. She is irate over the fact that her son told her other campers were using foul and distasteful language in front of her son. Assuming the worst, I ask which words were used and she leans forward to me and whispers fart, gonads and butthole. Without trying to laugh, I tell her I will discuss it with the staff. Did I mention that her son was a 15-year-old teen camper? How can my checking account be overdrawn? I still have checks left. You see a lot of stupid people as a bank teller. Most satisfying customer interaction of my cashier career was having the manager back me up on refusing to process a return for incense that didn't taste good. I work at a concert venue. I had a customer call the day after the show wanting a refund because the artist did not play his favorite song during the show. Bonus points if his favorite song was by a completely different artist. Double bonus if the artist that wrote his favorite song is dead. I was working in a frozen yogurt shop, and a customer requested that I surprise her with my choice of flavor and add-ons as well as the size. I created a medium chocolate topped with granola and rainbow sprinkles. She looked it over and said it was too small, too crunchy, unattractive. And oh, by the way, she was allergic to chocolate. When I used to work at DQ, there was some lady who literally made me cry over Butterfina. She didn't understand that what we got was called ground butterfingers, and she wouldn't accept that I wasn't sabotaging her candy bars before making a blizzard with them. She made 2 other girls cry too. My boss ended up banning her from ever returning. The owners don't take shit from anyone, and I love that. Blockbuster. This woman would repeatedly rent games and keep them until they cycled out of inventory and she would get charged for them. Then she would complain about the charges, stating she returned the game weeks ago. My pussy boss would always remove the charges, and then the game would magically be in the Dropbox the very next day. This happened all the ducking time with this lady. I even commented on her account every time it happened. Finally one time, I refused to remove the charge. and told her I was sick of her petty game. She called my boss. He listened to my side of the story, told me to remove her charges, and the next ducking day the game was in the Dropbox. I told him it happened again, and he transferred me to a different store. Fast forward a few months and the woman's 10-year-old daughter comes into my new store to rent American Pie. Haha. Sorry kid. You gotta have an adult come in and rent this for you. She goes out to her mom, who I can clearly see through the window. Tells her what I said, and I get the most evil glare I have ever seen as she throws her car into reverse and leaves without a movie. Itch. I worked for an airline. A customer calls in wanting to go to a city we don't fly to. No problem. I tell him we fly to city, and then they can take another airline to final destination. He starts screaming. Are you new? How can you be so stupid? I am on your website and you do fly there. I explained that I had been employed a mere 25 years with that airline, but I'm always learning. Then I directed the customer to click on the connecting flight number. Then read to me what it says. Flight 123 operated by other airline. No. Why he didn't just book it himself online will become apparent later. We continued on and I made the reservation. This customer complained every time I had to ask for info or say a federally mandated notification. Nothing unusual about that. I did politely ask him to keep his volume down because I could not help him with my ears ringing. Then I asked for the credit card number to complete the purchase. He started screaming again that he was not giving me his credit card, he was using his bank miles that cannot be accessed by me or the airline. I explained that his bank took his miles, then called us and actually purchased the ticket with actual money. He went totally insane, screeching. I let him know if he didn't clean up his filthy language, I was going to hang up on him. He then asked for a supervisor, which I was. Yippee. The coworker I begged to take this call explained the situation calmly. I listened in. Then the customer said, I already tried calling the bank reservation line and they said I couldn't do it. Then they hung up on me. Believe it or not, most of my customers were lovely. This one, not so much. Work in a takeout food business. A lady ordered a delivery with about 3 meals, one of which had mushrooms in. She called about, I would say, 15 minutes after receiving her order to complain that I tried to heal her by putting mushrooms in her meal. She did not state that she or anyone had a mushroom allergy and went to yell and demand free stuff. The yelling lasted about 10 minutes of her just yelling and threatening to report us, and all I could do was say why she did not state that she had an allergy. In the end she got nothing and funny enough ordered again about 3 weeks later. I used to coach gymnastics for what were largely upper middle class and above clients. Dumb blonde housewife who managed to find a way to talk about how much money her husband makes in several conversations with me and others. Tells me her husband wants to know why they were charged 13 times for the monthly tuition fees last year. I tell her we charge every 4 weeks, not every month. This is made very clear in the contract they sign, and on any of the literature about our class times and tuitions. A couple days later her Dow checker know of her husband comes in demanding an explanation as to why he was overcharged last year. Because he wasn't satisfied with the explanation I gave his wife. He's a big powerful salesman or something. And I'm just a dumb little girl who teaches kids to do somersaults. He was so smug, thinking he's going to school me on being so dumb. Or worse, doing sketchy business. I once again explained that we charge in 4-week increments, not monthly. I explained that there are 52 weeks in a year, and 52/4 is 13. He still didn't get it. So I had to pull out a calendar and count it out to him. He got huffy and walked out. That was about 4 years ago and they still bring their kids as far as I know. Worked at a local upscale restaurant in the Midwest. We had bad weather coming in one night that turned from a tornado watch to a tornado warning. I stayed later than the rest of the staff minus 2 other managers who were going to stay put since they lived half an hour away and the tornado sirens just went off. I'm on my way out the door because I live 5 minutes away and run into the 20-person reservation that didn't answer their phone when we called 5 times to tell them we were closing due to the tornadoes. So we're outside in a thunderstorm with the tornado sirens blaring, and these people cannot grasp the situation and are acting like it's just a normal day. I try for a few minutes to get reason in their heads, but they're having none of it. So I get the 2 other managers to deal with it and went home because I couldn't handle that level of stupid anymore. I'm a long-haul flight attendant. Had a passenger on a flight once that had laid their 8 or 9-year-old on the ground to sleep. I asked the mother to politely pick her up as it wasn't safe. To which the mother informed me that it was safe and pulled the "I've done it plenty of times before" line. Things escalated dramatically from here when I insisted she pick her child up. It took 20 minutes of arguing, the waking of the entire aircraft, the captain, the purser, and threats of restraint to calm her down. We eventually managed to get the child in the seat with a pillow I had found in the aircraft cupboard. The reason we can't have anyone on the floor is that in the event of sudden decompression, the masks won't reach ground level. A person has around 4 seconds of useful consciousness in a worst case scenario. So the mother wouldn't be able to take her mask off to bend down, pick her child up and put her on oxygen. This is also the reason we tell you to put your own mask on before assisting others. It's a hell of a lot easier helping your child with their mask while you're conscious. I had a customer's father call and yell at me because his daughter rented a storage unit at a different price he was quoted. His daughter, who was in her 30s mind you, had no problem with the price. No one at our location ever had a conversation with her father. I sat and listened to him tell me how awful at customer service I was. And all the people he referred to my location were going to move out now. Oh no. The kicker was his daughter left us a 5-star review on Yelp after she moved out, praising us for our stellar customer service. I was working at a hotel and a guy comes in and just slaps his ID on the counter without saying anything. I look up his reservation and it's not in the system. I tell him we don't have it and he flips out. Starts calling me incompetent and saying he's going to call corporate, etc. Then he says he's been a Hilton Honors member for 5 years and how dare we lose high reservation. So I just pointed at the large sign on the wall behind me that said Holiday Inn Express. He said nothing, snatched his ID off the counter and left. Man threw a hissy fit in front of his young daughter because we didn't have a product that he drove 3 hours to buy specifically. It wasn't a fantastically popular product, so we didn't keep a lot in stock and we'd just sold the last one on the shelf the week before. And he hadn't called ahead to ask if it was in stock. He demanded we sell him the half-used sample bottle. Bitched when we refused because we weren't allowed to, for health and safety reasons. We offered to check with the store a few miles away had any in stock, but he refused, saying that he had already driven far enough. We offered to order it for him and have it shipped to his house, and would make him a sample to last him until it arrived. But he also refused and insisted that we either sell him the sample bottle or he would never come to our store again. To his credit, I never saw him again. LPT, if you have to drive a long way to get a product, maybe call to make sure it's in stock before you make the trip. Also, don't be an asshole in front of your kids. His poor wife looks so embarrassed. I used to work at a buffet as a manager cashier. And I remember this one customer that wanted a free meal because our food made her throw up. She claimed that she threw up in the bathroom. So I went to check up on it. The entire floor of the bathroom was littered with uneaten food straight from the buffet bar. I returned and, politely, called bullshit on her story. Her response: "And I shit you not. Then are you calling me a liar? Do you really think I'd waste food like that?" I smugly proceed to checking the cameras. We had one facing the hallway leading towards the bathroom, and showing her the footage of her heaping a plate with food, entering the bathroom with said plate, and leaving with a magically empty plate. The look of horror and embarrassment on her face was priceless. She paid in the end too. Was trimming my horse's feet at work while waiting to take a ride out. Trail guide, when a Woman walked over and asked if I was hurting him. No, it's like trimming your fingernails and probably actually feels pretty great. Woman proceeds to insist that I am hurting him. Horse is enjoying lunch, not giving a single duck at the time, and goes as far as to try and contact animal control. Animal control shows up. We know each other pretty well, and proceeds to tell her the same thing. Woman leaves in a huff, not even getting her $sign back for the ride she was supposed to go on. The best part is that isn't even the best story from working at that place. I worked at a Hollywood video in the town I went to college. The wealthiest guy in town, millionaire plus, made his money in payday loans. Literally earning off the backs of people he took advantage of. So his son was a frequent customer and was a real doucher. He had the same first name as his dad and he kept taking his dad's credit card to pay for stuff. He let that slip once and we told him he wasn't allowed to do that anymore. He tried this a couple more times, getting more and more douchy each time. Finally his dad came in. I let him know that his son couldn't do this and he went off. Literally the stereotypical "I could buy you" crap. My son can go out and buy a plane right now in cash. Who the hell do you think you are telling him he can't buy a bag of popcorn? About 5 straight minutes of berating and talking to me like I was gutter trash. When he left, I was so angry I was trembling. I had to go to the back office for a half hour to calm down before I could deal with customers again. I got my petty revenge. I happened to be a shift leader, so I commented his account and every one of his family members that they'd have to show ID and could never enter with a single cent of late fee on their account. We had a bit of a grace amount. Dude was rich. But by God, I was going to make him account for every $1.07 and do it in public in front of everyone else. Customer came up to pay for his meal. Noticed his side of sausages was like $3. That can't possibly be right. I can buy a whole chain of sausages for less than that. What are y'all trying to pull? Sir, that's the price for a side of sausage. It's printed on the menu. Well, I'd like to speak to a manager. And for some reason the manager took the sausages off his ticket. Don't ducking order something and then complain about the price. You're not special. Used to work at a hotel and a guest said he had left his laptop charger in a room months ago during a previous stay and wanted to check the lost and found. I called down to housekeeping to check the lost and found and they said there were no chargers for his brand of computer. He then asked if he could go look to find a different one that would work on his laptop. I told him he could not because it is not his. He cannot just take someone else's charger because they may come back looking for it like he is now. He then went through a cycle of asking again. I would say no. He would just ask why. Like a child, and I would again explain that those chargers did not belong to him. Then he started counting how many times I explained it. That's the 3rd time you told me that. That's the 4th time you told me that. In a very condescending tone, as if I didn't realize I was saying the same thing over and over. He thought he was making a point, but the only point he was making is that he is an asshole. After the 5th time he asked for a manager who just gave him a random charger. I'll never forget the guy's face and I hope to run into him in the future. Worked at a retail pharmacy. And after Christmas the gift sets, bath, perfume, and shave went on sale for 50% off. There were signs that clearly stated 50% off original price. All the sets clearly labeled with the original pricing. This woman loads her cart up with a bunch of bath sets and tells me she's paying $2.50 for each set. The original price was $10, so the sale price would have been $5. I told her they were $5 and she flipped out saying she wasn't taking any of it. Cool beans. Whatever. Someone is gonna come along and buy them anyway. After I walked away she was telling the cashier how rude I was. She demands to know my name. And since I was still around the corner, I came back around and told her my name. Pointed to my name tag. And lived for the look on her face. Mixture of disbelief, anger and embarrassment. Duck retail. I worked in a grocery store deli. We had some pre-made stuff. and there was a register down at the end that we sometimes operated from around 11:30. 1:30 there was a line of about 10 people waiting to get meat or cheese sliced. This guy came and grabbed one of our pre-made sandwiches, then asked me if I could ring him up because the store was busy and he didn't want to wait at the regular registers. I told him I don't have the code to use the register. He asked me to go get someone he can. I told him I can't stop serving customers to go looking for someone who can operate the register. And it'd be faster if he just went up front. He demanded my name and said he was going to go talk to my manager. So I pointed to my name badge. Then told him where customer service was. And that they could ring up his sandwich for him. The whole time I was still preparing a customer's order. And after the guy left, even the customer commented about how that guy was an asshole. Customer comes out of his theater ranting and raving about how the images in the movie keep flying out at him. I see that he has 3D glasses in his hand. So I tell him, yes sir. The movie is in 3D. That's what happens. He flips out and demands a refund. Also had a woman complain that the movie didn't make any sense. So she wanted a refund. I was confused. As it was less than 5 minutes after showtime, there are usually 10-15 minutes of previews, so I told her the movie hadn't started yet. And that she was watching the previews. She said OHH and walked back to her theater.